Hello and welcome to another Intelligent Travel Health Safety Security and Risk Management Advisory tip. When it comes to risk analysis, it's a formulaic approach. It's very simply broken down into three elements. One is the threat itself, that can cause harm or cause change or influence your decision or outcomes. Secondly is the management or control measures that you've put in place. And thirdly is the risk. And the risk is something which you can determine to mitigate, you can avoid, you can transfer, you can implement further control measures and go through the process again. But it should be very simple to both understand from an individual perspective as well as for an organisation. And again, this shouldn't be something that's overly laborious or complex because it simply won't be applied. And looking at those three fundamental principles, it should be something that's contextual to the individual. So therefore, the outcomes and the variations should vary from individual and activity to activity. But if you've got 100 people, for example, all in one city or all in one country, and they all have exactly the same risk rating, then there's something wrong with your system. It simply doesn't work. It's not contextual, it's not based on variance, and what you're doing as an organisation is you're spending a whole lot of time, money and effort focusing on 100 people when in reality there's probably 3, 5, 10, 20 people that are the highest risk. There's a majority in the middle risk, and there are those that are very low risk. Much like a Gaussian distribution or a Bell distribution curve, you're going to have higher and lower ends of the spectrum. You're going to have the bulk somewhere in the middle. But it's going to come down to what are the threats in the first place? What management and mitigation processes surround that particular individual, and then the residual risk. So when we look at the threats in that three-stage process, it's going to vary from individual to individual. Is it the first time they've travelled there? Are they a seasoned veteran that speaks the language? Have they got a medical condition? Do they have a mobile phone? Have they been to the location before? Are they going to somewhere new? Has it been 6 months since they were there? There's a whole bunch of variables that simply cannot be grouped and categorized into the same for everyone. Likewise, when it comes to the management and mitigation processes, what you're going to find is there's going to be varying levels of that as well. So whether it's an individual leisure traveller or it's a business traveller, there are certain choices and processes that may be put in place. It could range from insurance, it could range from induction, orientation training, it could be chaperones, it could be a whole host of other modifying processes that have been applied, not necessarily to everybody universally or at different stages, but essentially that will then determine the outcome. And that's part of your risk analysis, your risk outcome. That's the third and final element, is after all of those considerations and choices have been reapplied, what is that level of risk? And you can also then go back and modify that by putting in, reanalyzing the threats. Was it over or understated? Were the modifiers adequate? Okay, these, you can't simply categorize it all the same. We often refer to it as it's a bit like wearing a skateboard helmet on a motorcycle. Yes, it's a helmet, but it's not fit for purpose. You've overlooked a number of processes, the reasons why, the threat itself, the modifying options. The risk is not the same because under those terms of reference, they've got a helmet, they're on a motorbike, they'll be fine, when we all know that that's simply not the case. So once again, thanks very much for joining us for another Travel Health Safety Security and Risk Advisory tip. For more information and videos on this subject, please visit our website at www.intelligenttravel.com.au. Thanks, that's all. Bye.